If there is one trait that most narcissists share, it is their anger. It can be explosive or passive, but the narcissist can quickly revert to anger in almost any situation. So, why do narcissists get so angry? The term narcissistic rage was first used by author Heinz Kohut to refer to the tendency for people with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, to fly into a rage with the slightest provocation, or no provocation at all. Narcissistic rage occurs when an individual's sense of self is threatened, leading to a display of intense anger. This behavior can take various forms such as physical or verbal abuse, manipulation, or passive-aggressive behavior, particularly in relationships. Narcissists require that others give them constant admiration and positive validation. When this doesn't occur, it can elicit their underlying feelings of shame. Rage is one of the few coping mechanisms a narcissist has available to deal with shame and narcissistic injury. This is why they often appear angry. Narcissists lack the communication skills to work through conflict constructively, so they're always on the defensive. The root cause of a narcissist's rage is their hypersensitivity and fear that their carefully crafted outward persona will be revealed. Narcissists will try to destroy anyone or anything that threatens to expose their lies in order to protect themselves. To avoid being exposed, they resort to narcissistic rage to distance themselves from overwhelming situations and keep others at bay. While the narcissist may always seem to be angry with you, they are actually angry with the world. The anger is directed at you because turning the anger inward confirms their fears that they are flawed. Anger at you is a deflection to avoid anger at themselves and their actions. Narcissistic rage can manifest in either an active or passive manner, and is accompanied by either outwardly visible, overt, or internalized, covert indications. Outward signs of narcissistic rage: becoming verbally or physically aggressive, inability to control themselves, seemingly, intentionally trying to inflict pain, emotional or physical, on others, hurling insults, threatening other people, or threatening to harm themselves. Inward signs: passive aggression, giving the silent treatment, withdrawing or being aloof, expressing disapproval through tone and body language, avoiding things they dislike, hidden resentment, neglecting to do things, using sarcasm to cut people down, righteous indignation, a sense of entitlement, becoming hostile or bitter, cutting people off as a means to protect their self-esteem, dissociation, or feeling disconnected from reality. Passive rage, retreating into a period of sulking and refusing to engage. Narcissistic individuals tend to alternate between expressing their anger outwardly and directing it inwardly. Instead of displaying only one type of narcissistic rage, they can exhibit both outward and inward behaviors and actions. Are you wondering if someone you know might be exhibiting signs of narcissistic rage? Or are you somewhat aware that you may have this tendency yourself? If you're not sure, take a look at this list of the signs and symptoms of narcissistic rage. While it may feel as though the attack is calculated, most often, narcissistic rage is reactive in nature. Number 1, projecting blame on others. Narcissists skillfully shift blame to others. Often they literally believe that they are perfect and everyone else is flawed and deficient. A narcissist in marriage counseling might instruct the therapist to tell their spouse that they are the one who is right and healthy and that all of the problems in the relationship stem from their damaged partner. No one can sidestep responsibility like a narcissist. Number 2, playing the victim. The more severe the level of narcissism, the more likely they are to play the victim. This leads to what is called the offending from the victim position. The narcissist believes that they are justified in being hostile and antagonistic. Narcissists tend to spin a narrative in which they are the innocent victim, and their target is the evil perpetrator. And they'll defend the story to the very end. Number 3, avoiding accountability. One narcissist I know delighted in getting speeding tickets just so he could use legal loopholes to get his citations dismissed. He would take a day off of work and spend it in court, attempting to thwart the system, all so he could feel superior to the police officer who pulled him over. It didn't matter that paying the ticket would have been less expensive than losing a day of income. The boost to his ego was more important to him. Number 4, making unreasonable demands. Your narcissistic boss might make unreasonable requests, such as demanding you work long hours over the weekend on a last-minute assignment. If you refuse to comply, they may lash out in rage. Number 5, requiring special treatment. A narcissist screams at and insults the security guard in her office building because she wants to bring her bicycle on the elevator. Rules were for others, not for her. After all, she is entitled to do whatever she wants. How dare someone tell me I can't bring a bike on an elevator? Who does he think he's talking to? She thinks.
Number 6, demanding attention.
A friend might always direct the conversation back to talking about themselves, even in the case when someone has shared something important and listening would be more appropriate. They might even become jealous and sulk or lash out if everyone is giving attention to someone else's problem and ignoring them. Number 7, trying to control relationships. Leaving a narcissistic relationship can be dangerous. When a narcissist feels that they might lose their source of supply, they will react like a toddler having their toy taken away. They see people as possessions, not separate entities entitled to their own happiness. Number 8, can't take criticism. Narcissistic rage can result from even the most gentle of criticism because of the narcissist's unstable sense of self-esteem. Their reaction will be swift and intense. Any detractors immediately become the enemy. Number 9, turning the tables. If you catch a narcissist in a lie and you call them out on it, they may immediately fly into a rage. If they're cheating, they'll accuse you of cheating instead. Narcissists always turn things around on their victim. What are the consequences of narcissistic rage and why is it such a problem? The truth is that narcissistic rage has negative effects on the person who has the problem, as well as everyone around them.
Unlike typical anger, narcissistic rage does not go through a series of stages. Here are the healthy, typical stages of anger escalation. Number 1, stress. Feelings of irritation under the surface that are not consciously acknowledged or acted upon. Number 2, anxiety. Displeasure starts to leak through with subtle signs. Number 3, agitation. Outward signs of being displeased without any blame assigned. Number 4, irritation. Showing more displeasure to get others to respond and change. Number 5, frustration. Showing anger with an angry face or using harsh words. Number 6, anger. Increasing how loudly you speak and being more expressive. Number 7, rage. Losing one's temper and flying into fits of aggression. In contrast, there is no progression through a series of steps when a narcissist becomes angry. Rather, what happens during narcissistic rage is more of a childlike response in which the person goes straight from feelings of stress to a full-blown outward or inward expression of rage. Some refer to this as the narcissistic rage cycle. In this cycle, others don't live up to the person with narcissism's expectations, causing them to feel disappointment. This immediately leads to anger, followed by feelings of shame. Then the narcissistic rage cycle repeats, further victimizing the target. Below are some of the possible negative outcomes of narcissistic rage: rifts in families, breakups of relationships, other people not wanting to be around, having success but at the cost of friendships, financial difficulties, problems sustaining employment or attending school, problems with the law, physical harm, for example to others with outward violence, and to the self with self-harm such as cutting, burning, or headbanging, feelings of guilt, loss, and being worthless. Inability to adapt to change, depression and anxiety, problems with physical health, substance use and addiction, suicidal thoughts or behaviors. What should you do if you're the victim of narcissistic rage? Seek therapy for yourself. Try to avoid triggering a reaction. Call 911 if the person is a threat. Know you aren't to blame for their behavior. Stay calm and set personal boundaries. Attempt to de-escalate arguments. Don't share too much personal information. Don't bother to try to use logic to debate them. Remember your reaction with either feed their rage or bore them. Act like a gray rock. Don't apologize or accept their behavior. Leave the situation if their anger becomes explosive. Go complete no contact when the relationship ends. One of the most important things you can do is become familiar with narcissistic personality disorder so you can recognize triggers, symptoms, and outcomes. This includes recognizing the qualities that may make you a target for narcissists, like being overly empathetic or trusting. When they're in a rage, recognize that the narcissist is not behaving or acting in a rational manner. Because they are so easily triggered, their judgment is impaired, and they are not thinking straight. Rage will tend to show up when the narcissist is stressed by circumstances, so it's best to avoid them during these times as a form of self-protection. A narcissist in a rage can be downright dangerous. Realize that you are not to blame and are not responsible for the narcissist's moods or behaviors. Try to step outside the situation and look at the conflict objectively. Did you really do anything unethical? If you were advising a friend in the same situation, would you tell them they were wrong? If so, great. You can choose to behave better. If not, stop apologizing. Every time you do, they think they're winning. Try to respond according to their actions. If you are given the silent treatment, do your best to ignore it. If their anger becomes explosive, leave the situation to protect your own safety. You can validate their feelings without going along with bad behavior. For example, say, "You are entitled to feel that way, but you are not obligated to stick around and be their punching bag." Set personal boundaries and be clear about what is acceptable behavior in the relationship and what is not. If you feel like gaslighting might be occurring, find an outside perspective by talking to a trustworthy friend or therapist. Protect your self-esteem and self-worth from being affected by the narcissist. Often, change will only come when there has been a breaking point of some sort, such as the development of another mental health issue. However, you don't have to wait to hit a breaking point before taking steps toward meaningful change. Nothing triggers narcissistic rage faster than the victim attempting to end the relationship. Women are 70 times more likely to be killed in the 2 weeks after leaving than at any other time. I can attest to that myself. That's when my own abuser completely lost it. Take precautions. It's much better to be overly careful or even paranoid than to lose your life. It doesn't matter if people think you're overreacting. You know your abuser and what they might be capable of. Don't take chances. Get help, ideally from a professional. If you or a loved one are a victim of domestic violence, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for confidential assistance from trained advocates. I promise there is a happy life waiting for you on the other side, but oftentimes the only way to get out is to go through.
Listen, I know from personal experience, decades of narcissistic abuse, that this stuff is hard. And if you need help recovering from narcissistic abuse in your life, please reach out to me. It's my #1 priority to help you regain your peace and your power in your own life.